Okay, so welcome to this next video for COMP3218, Game Design and Development at the University of Southampton. My name is Dave Millard, I'm one of the lecturers on the course, and I'm here with...
I'm Tom Blount, I also lecture on the course.
So we're going to have a look at a couple of games in this video that we asked the students to do. Tom, do you want to say a little bit about what we exactly asked them to do?
So for this coursework we were interested in storytelling in games. So we asked our students to make a small game prototype that featured a story engine. So a way in which the narrative affected the gameplay, and the gameplay also affected the narrative. And we asked them to base this on one of 3 different fairy tales.
Brilliant. So I think our first one is called The Shaman's Tale.
Okay, here we are. Again, title screen, sort of setting a mood.
Yeah, no, it's simple but effective little title screen, yeah. Like that.
Okay.
Straight into it. Shaman, which is your name.
There's a lot on the screen all at once.
Yeah, we've got a counter at the top there. It's not going yet.
Which is good. Thank goodness for that. We've got a timer, health bar. We've got. I can only assume this is the king. I don't know what this is. This is confusing me.
Looks like a sort of someone who has not yet been revealed, I suspect.
Possibly a statue. Anyway, yes. Shaman, what is your name? My name is... Ooh, that's kind of nice. I think this is the first game we've seen that does this.
Yes, it is. What do we call ourselves?
Tom. Welcome, Tom. Oh, that's me. I presume you have heard of the fate that has befallen my precious daughter. No? No, we just showed up randomly. What planet have you been on? Well then, let me recap.
Where to begin?
Many years ago, in the early years of my reign, I came across a coven of witches while touring the towns at the edge of my territory. Yeah. They sought shelter from the neighbouring province, and I, not having read a fairy tale before, foolishly turned them away, fearing their mystical powers.
Yeah.
Last month that came back to haunt me. A lone survivor returned to exact her revenge, using her magic to wreak havoc throughout the kingdom, and then fled after turning the princess to stone. I guess that'll be her then.
Yep.
I dispatched the Knights of the Realm to track her down and force her to undo her spell, but she refused, and the Knights slayed her in a last-ditch attempt to break her influence. It did not work. Now I have a kingdom in ruins and a stone statue for a daughter.
You're right, it's a statue.
But there is hope. My physician has inspected her and says that there appears to be a window of opportunity to reverse the curse. He's a very good physician. But it will require medicine the likes of which she has never seen. That's interesting. He knows that she can be cured, but he's never seen the medicine that could possibly cure her.
He's an optimistic physician.
He's very optimistic, we'll give him that. We're forced to look into the supernatural for a suitable elixir. Shaman, your reputation for knowledge of the occult precedes you. I'm in dire need of your services. Will you help me? We've got a little quest log as well. Look at that.
Retrieve the cure. I like it.
There's a chance it can be reverted only if you can find a cure in the next 10 minutes. Blimey, I got here in the nick of time, didn't I?
Okay. We're suspension of disbelief. Fine.
Wish.
So they really wanted to make sure we could play their game in 10 minutes.
Right.
Shift to jump, space to jump, and shift to equip your sword. So I know there was a lot of exposition there, but it all makes sense because it uses stereotypes basically. So we had
archetypes.
The king,
archetypes.
Archetypes. Yeah, you're right. We had the king. We had the.
It's
the
quite
knight,
loud. I'm just gonna.
Position. We don't know what the kingdom's called because we don't care. We don't know what the position's called because we don't care. Right, we're just straight into it. So yes, good use of archetypes. You're right.
Why is it important that I can sheath my sword? So I was going to say I really like their little initial tutorial because they tell you how to jump and then they put a cliff in front of you, so you have to jump, and then they tell you how to equip your sword and attack, and they put a skeleton in front of you.
You to attack.
And then they've said you can sheath your sword. Here's a thing. I don't know.
And then you sheath it, and you find another skeleton.
Yeah. So that's a bit of a misstep, I think.
Yes, it's a shame, but okay. Oh, we can go up there.
Oh, I run a lot faster. That's what it is. Can I go up here?
Oh, do you? Okay.
Okay. You look very ill or have slightly dodgy sprites.
Yes.
Monsters have attacked our village and killed 3 people, and now they are scaring away deliveries of crucial supplies. If they aren't dealt with, they'll starve. Optional, toss a valley of plenty.
Like vanquish the monsters. I like the reference. Okay.
So it feels like that was a thing that we were probably going to do anyway. Ooh. Aha!
Oh.
But no, there's optional monsters, so we can ignore them and race against time and go this way. Or we can
vanquish them. Let's go and vanquish them.
I'll be honest, the actual combat is a little bit tricky. There's... Do I have to go and talk to this person and say I did it? Like, there doesn't feel like a lot of opportunity for dodging and stuff. I'm just tanking a lot of hits to the face.
Yeah, it says return to the villager.
Oh, it does. Excellent. Thank you for your help. You're the one they sent to find the cure, blah blah blah. Is our timer? Our timer is not paused. That's a shame. There's 2 different paths in the direction you're heading. If you're in a rush, there's a hidden tunnel in the basement below the houses. It's blocked off by a crate at the moment, but I'll ask my father to move it for you. There we go. So we've gone out of our way to help these people at our cost to ourselves. But alternatively, continue out of the village and you'll find another with a resident blacksmith, and apparently he has a job for somebody. Ooh, now that's interesting as well. So even within that, there's a choice of like, ooh, that looks like a key. Like secret tunnel if we're in a rush, or blacksmith with more side gigs for us. I'm gonna go chat to the blacksmith.
Let's do that. Do you have a lot of health?
I do not. Have you seen a young lady travelling these parts? Daughter, blah blah blah. Mushrooms. Worried she's in danger. See, I'm having to skip through this text because my time is ticking down. Yeah,
that's unfortunate. Although I do like the way that they put the information in the text, so you haven't got lots of needless. Good day, blacksmith. Good day, strange traveller. Have you seen my daughter? No, I have not seen your daughter. Right, just get straight to the point.
This is
nicely done.
This is finicky.
Oh.
Oh no, I don't like this. Yeah. This is very.
Oh, well done.
Ah.
Oh, game over. Oh dear. Now what will it do?
Okay.
10 minutes. Well, we can start while you're getting back to the same place you were in. We can start talking about the first part of that mark scheme, right?
Also, worth saying, like, we asked for a game that you can complete in 10 minutes, and they have forced us to complete this game in 10 minutes.
They have delivered it. They still haven't taken account of the fact that we might not be that good at it. But, yeah. Okay, presentation. So this is kind of information design, graphics and audio, basically. What do we think?
I'm quite liking it. There's... Like, the graphics quite nice. It's a shame some of the sprites don't quite match.
Yeah, there's some oddities. So the health bar, for example, doesn't quite match, and
like the blacksmith as well.
Match, but the fonts work really well. I really like the information design there with the little quests, with the optional and the telling you what to do is really nice. I think that's great. So, and the timer is very clear. The enemies have all got a little health bar above their heads. The information design's good. You know, it's not enormously novel, but it uses sort of tropes that work, and it's executed pretty well.
Yeah, it'd be nice maybe if some, like this quest, for example, if this was removed from our quest log and sort of said, you know, failed or something because we've not done it.
Well, I suppose you can go back and do it if you want.
Oh, that's a good point. I hadn't considered that. So do we? I'm still exploring this way.
So. What about the music? What do you think of
that? No music, unfortunately. There's some running sounds. There's some sword slashing sounds. And there's like a little. There's a lovely little like a shunk as you pull out your sword. That's kind of nice. But yeah, like a little bit of background music would have been really lovely.
Okay.
Hello.
So I think that good would be key information is shown clearly. Graphics are consistent and appropriate use of audio. It's certainly there. Excellent would be key information is shown clearly, consistent and appealing graphics, and good use of audio, effects and or music. It probably is just about there. What do you think?
Yeah, like there are some odd inconsistencies with the graphics that's a bit of a shame, and like the lack of music is again sort of it's a disappointment rather than deal breaker.
Well, maybe it's halfway between good and excellent.
Yeah,
for those reasons. Gameplay. No.
It's me.
There you go. Well, Tom, farewell. Just remembered you. So,
I meant to read that to see what effect that had and whether I got anything for it, and I totally failed.
There was something about some silver, something.
So gameplay, yeah. So you might have noticed I'm finding it a lot easier to just run around the monsters,
Yes.
which is a bit of a shame.
Yeah.
Uh,
But apart from the quest which requires you to kill them, I suppose that's
so yes,
okay. Well, let's talk about
some odd sort of transitions there as well. Careful, keep your distance. Will fallen ill. Since you're here, could you brew us an elixir? We need blah blah blah. Side quest. Flower power.
power. Okay.
So yeah, the gameplay overall is nice. Oh, again, that looks a little bit odd and inconsistent.
Yeah.
But yeah, the fact that I can mostly avoid the monsters and that it's a lot easier for me to do that than fight them is a bit of a shame.
So the gameplay one is is there a set of complementary mechanics? Are the controls usable? Is there meaningful play?
And I think that's it. It's like
the meaningful play bit, isn't it? That's kind of
it's sort of more whether they're usable, because like if I pull out my sword and try and fight this guy, okay, oh, did he make my sword better? Okay,
I think you might have done, yeah.
So dodging the like attacks was a bit hard, and I found I was losing a lot of health by doing it. I think I still might if I try and.
Yeah, you're still you're taking damage.
So yeah, I think like there's definitely an interesting set of mechanics. It's the sort of smooth and usable controls, maybe, or the meaningful play. Like like there's something that's just not quite right about like the monsters need to telegraph their attacks more and let you sort of dodge or something like that.
Okay. So you've got hardly any health yet. You are quite close to the end.
Yeah.
But I suspect we're not going to see it.
Sorry, I'll stop doing side quests. How do I get up there?
So okay, gameplay mechanics then. So is there a set of complementary mechanics? Well, you've got sword attacks, you've got what else? You've got your own health, I guess. Oh.
Yeah, you know what? Actually,
jumping and platforming.
Now I'm getting sort of the hang of the combat a bit more. Then actually, you know what? It's all right.
Yeah.
So you've got the side quests. You've got sort of like collecting stuff. You've got.
Yeah. So there's a decent set of complementary mechanics, I think.
Yeah.
The controls you said were
bloody hell.
Mostly usable, right? Oh yeah, that'll be the demon.
Yeah, that was inevitable, really, wasn't it?
Very good. Yeah, so we've got complementary mechanics. We've got so the controls you said you kind of would describe them as smooth and usable.
Yeah, certainly the movement controls are usable. Like it's sort of the thing. Like the controls themselves are quite nice. It's the sort of the hazards they put into you that kind of almost detract from it. So like the very very tiny platforms and stuff make the jumping feel harder than it actually feels when you're just jumping around the world. Otherwise,
it still feels like it gives you some meaningful play, and that would put it at a good level.
There we go.
Bugs.
Haven't spotted any so far.
So I think the game is playable and reasonably complex. There are no obvious bugs, so I think that's an excellent.
Yep.
Story engine. So what did they put for their story engine? This is how much does the narrative impact the game and the game impact the narrative. So they said, how does the narrative impact the game world? We closely followed the principles behind the Queen Bee story. So you get a series of optional side quests which will help or hinder the story if you're completed or ignored, respectively. One quest allows you to skip a level, saving on time, but it was hinted that it might be missing another beneficial side quest by doing it. The reward for another quest is a better sword, which makes the later levels and the boss fight much easier. And the quests that are not completed are referenced at the end by the king in his closing remarks, leaving you with a sense that your actions or lack of had real consequences. So interestingly, they've said that's how the narrative impacts the game world.
And I would say it's probably the opposite.
Yes, that is the opposite. So your decisions in the narrative are giving you benefits in the game world. So it is precisely the opposite. But okay, how does the game world impact the narrative? You make decisions based on
Yeah,
your
actually.
two
So a lot of it
primary. Yep.
is. A lot of it is sort of decisions you make in the game world. So, do you go and collect the things? Do you go and like kill all of the monsters in a level? And that affects sort of the narrative you're given at the end. So in a way it does. It's very binary though. So it's either did you collect all of the shiny blue flowers, or did you like? And that's looks like it's sort of by design. Oh heck! All right.
Oh crikey!
So this is interesting. It feels like I need the better sword to stand any chance at this.
Yeah,
but I'm going to struggle to get that better sword.
So hang on, let's go back over this then. So how does the narrative impact the game world? So if you complete the side quest, you get rewarded with things that then have an impact in the game world, right?
Yeah.
How does the game world impact the narrative? So it's because but your actions in the game world complete the narrative quests, right?
Yeah.
So if you destroy the skeletons, so it does go both ways, but as you said, in quite a simple way.
But it is a nice example of, it's not just a sort of, you have like a dialogue box pop up to say, do you want to do this quest or not?
Yeah.
You just it's your actions in the game world that determine whether that's
effectively a diegetic choice. Yeah, it's nice. So a good would be an effective story engine that is integrated with the game world. There are some examples where it goes one way and is impacted and the other way, right? And the other one would be there are many examples. That would be excellent. So are there some examples or many examples, do you think?
Sort of difficult to say at this stage, but sort of based on their notes, I'm going to say some.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. So that puts them at the kind of the good level. Agency. So do we have an interactive story with several branching points? Are there interesting choices? And are there attempts to manage player agency? So we've got a number of key choices. So there's definitely some different branching points. There is an attempt to manage agency in the structure because they're essentially these optional side quests. So you've got this kind of you've got this path through to the demon and the different endings, and they're optional. So I think they have managed your agency using the structure of the story. So an interactive story with several branching points, some interesting choices. So what do we think about the choices? Are they interesting choices?
I actually think they are. They're quite simple in terms of you're balancing sort of, okay, do I think I can afford to spend time on it and health for, for probably a reward, but nothing guaranteed?
The only thing I'd say, they're a little bit mechanical. So it would have been nice if they were a bit more narrative based. So if you were making decisions about the character or the plot in a slightly more concrete way. But I agree. I think they're definitely not calculations. You're choosing between different sort of rewards and you're making a decision about which one you want. Okay, so I think good would be an interactive story with several branching points, some interesting choices, and a few attempts to manage player agency. An excellent would be an interactive story with several branching points, some interesting choices, and an effective system for managing player agency. I don't think they're quite up there with an effective system. It's a bit too simple for that, but it is effective. It does work. So I would maybe put agency halfway between good and excellent.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, poetics. So do the narrative and gameplay complement one another? So I think they do, but they don't go much further than that. So again, this is about, so they've got this key idea that you help people and they help you. The problem they've got is that they've gone for this immediate feedback thing, right? So you help the blacksmith, you get a better sword. And the whole point of it is that you make good actions that don't appear to have consequences. They don't appear to have beneficial consequences to you, but they do in the long run, right? That's the point of the story. It's not just what goes around comes around. It's what goes around comes around eventually. oh, God.
I'm not sure this is going to be possible.
Nope. No. I mean, you get there in 5 minutes, in fairness, but
the problem is, in the time it takes me to swing and run away, he can attack twice, and he takes off a big chunk of my health.
So I think the poetics thing is the good level would be narrative and gameplay complement one another. The key mechanics are in keeping with the themes of the story, and that for me feels about right. It's not that the gameplay and the narrative support one another. You know, they kind of complement each other.
Yeah.
You've got the themes. You're picking stuff up. It's not really emphasized.
Like possibly halfway between the two, but like you say, it's because.
Okay, let's do that halfway between the two because they've.
I'd really like to see sort of how it's all tied back together. Like if there's like a nice little ending cutscene where you see, you know, the blacksmith and his daughter, and they say thanks and that would really strengthen it. But right now, I'm a little bit stuck.
I think that what happens is that they seem to imply that when you get to the end, you get the king kind of the quest you've not completed are referenced at the end by the king in his closing remarks.
Which, you know, a nice little sort of epilogue kind of thing.
Yeah, which kind of ties up to that. Okay, let's put that between the two. Techniques. So this is about pacing and the use of game writing techniques. So what are they doing to tell the story here?
So we have dialogue with the characters.
Yep.
That's sort of it, though.
Is there any environmental storytelling going on? There's the people by the wagon led down looking a bit sick.
Yeah, I mean, there's monsters everywhere. I'm not sure that's thoroughly explained. I guess that's just witch magic.
Yes. So yeah, okay. You know, maybe it's a bit of a stretch to say the environmental storytelling, but they're. So the techniques then they're using at least one game writing technique, which is satisfactory.
I think they are using it pretty effectively though.
We could argue that was, you know, between satisfactory and good perhaps for that reason. But
because like you were saying, the sort of reliance on sort of narrative tropes means that they can focus on the bits of the story that are important.
And what about the pacing?
So we've got a clear sort of 3-act structure. We've got like 3 side quests and then a climax. The monsters do get harder as you progress.
There's not much of a narrative climax around that demon thing, though.
Yeah, that was the thing I was going to say. Like, there's definitely the sort of mechanical climax there, but it's not tied into the narrative. I've honestly forgotten why we're fighting a demon. I thought there was like we had to search for medicine. Was the demon part of that?
Yeah, I can't remember. So yeah, okay. So in terms of the pacing, then, so if we're happy that the game writing techniques are kind of at the top end of satisfactory, then do we have some ascending pacing with a clear final peak, or ascending pacing with more than one peak? It feels like maybe it's halfway between the two. Ascending pacing with a clear final peak. If they had a bit more narrative around that demon, they'd be there, right?
Yeah. Like there's nothing to stop you having a dialogue with that demon and saying, "Aha! I will wreak that witch's revenge," or something.
So it feels to me that we're kind of at the satisfactory level for techniques. Feedback. So what did they say? They said when we presented the game, an issue was raised about the involvement of the story. Our initial idea was that aside from the introduction, the player was never forced to interact with the world around them. However, the supervisor pointed out this took away focus from the story, the main point of the assignment. So we decided to force a certain level of interaction with the NPCs at the beginning of the game, and for each level at the end of the game. When you pass an NPC, the player would have a quick conversation with them to inform them of the scenario of that level. The player then has the choice to do something about the level or ignore it. This brings a greater portion of the attention to the story rather than being ignored. It was also pointed out that a beat-the-clock game may limit the player's willingness to interact with the story, which is exactly what we're saying. To minimise that, we tried to be quite liberal with the amount of time given, and aim to design a highly replayable game so that other branches of the story can be explored in subsequent runs. So that's interesting. that's why you get quite a lot of time, because you're getting to the end with about with several minutes to spare. But it's the wrong thing to do, because you don't know how long it's going to take you. You don't take advantage of the time, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like I'm
said,
taking my time a little bit more now with the combat encounters and things like that, because I'm aware of how much of this I can get through in the time limit. Also, I feel like saying, we want it to be replayable so that it can explore all of the branches in the story is a little bit exaggerating how branching the narrative is. That
yes, it is.
Like there's definitely a sort of it's more sort of completionist. Like, can you do all of the side quests rather than explore the narrative branching?
But also, as you said, the right solution is actually to freeze the clock when you're in the narrative sections, right?
Hey, look at that! I did it!
Hooray! Hooray!
Okay. Okay. He was just guarding the flower.
He's guarding the flower.
Oh, do I have to sodding run all the way back? All right.
Maybe you do. Don't run into a skeleton. You'll get very sad.
I swear to God, if I think I've killed them all. He says moments before being killed by a skeleton.
Okay.
There we go. So that's why you do this side quest, because this means you can ride back in the cart.
That's right, yeah. That's quite nice.
There we go. We can see the little conclusion. Hey, look, the princess appears and looks, again, slightly odd.
Where am I?
Well, actually, can we count this as a separate technique? The fact that you can put, probably not enough to sort of, change things.
It's a nice little touch there.
But, that's a very nice little touch that you see in sort of, a few different sort of narrative-driven games.
Yeah.
Monster problem, the blacksmith found the no man's cure. Such commitment surely deserves a knighthood. We are now Sir Tom. There's plenty more to be done. The work of the witch has left many others in Kingdom in dire straits. What an excellent idea. Well, Shaman, how about it? Good ending.
Good ending. Well done, Sir Tom.
Hooray.
So in terms of the feedback, so what they're basically saying is they force people to interact with the NPCs so that you would get a sense of the story. And they adjusted the clock so you could concentrate on the story, but as we said, they should have frozen the clock, really. So I think that counts that satisfactory would be feedback was articulated and some changes have been made with partial success. And good is feedback was articulated and reasonable changes have been successfully made. And it feels to me that they're maybe halfway between those two things.
Yeah. I mean, because what would the benefit of not forcing you to talk to these NPCs be?
Yeah, I think, yeah. It kind of... Yeah, I suppose it would... They're right that it successfully lets you engage with the story, and they're also right that the clock thing is a problem, and they've tried to do something about it, but they just haven't quite done the right thing. Okay. I think we're there. Shall we move on?
Yeah, let's move on. Next game is Queen Bee.
Okay, so I think we know what this is going to be about.
Yep. So this one we had to open in the Unity editor. We've got a nice little title screen here. A little bit simple, but does the job.
Simple, but again, interesting. Just the consistency of the fonts. Works and highlighting and stuff. So
I mean, maybe a nice little pixelated sprite of a bee or something, just to. But does the job. Let's jump into it. So we've got some lovely little. I want to say lute again, but I always say lute. But some sort of stringed instrument. Okay, WASD to move.
Right, there we go.
Okay, click to continue, I guess. So
you're slashing then? Is that?
I thought it was space to continue. Oh, it is space to continue, except on the first one. That's a bit interesting. Oh. So again, sort of, we've got this path, so showing us where we need to be going. Space to attack.
There's a thing. Should we attack it? We've just been told what space is to attack.
I mean, it's not really threatening us in any way, but okay. Pop.
Yeah. What does it mean, really?
Oh, I can just push it around.
Go on, attack it.
Alright. I mean, I am attacking it, it's just moving backwards a bit. Oh, okay. Oh, it vanished.
There you go. So we could have done with a little bit of feedback on the on when you're actually doing damage to it. But,
Yeah.
you know, it's okay.
Drop the sound just a little bit so we can definitely hear Dave. Okay, we're in the village. Oh, that's a nice little transition sort of screen here.
Yeah, that's a nice
Tutorial.
little, and actually a little forced scroll there, wasn't it? To
Yeah.
move you cleanly from one to the other. I like that.
Yeah, that's actually a really nice touch.
Yeah, very nice.
Okay, so here we've got... Hello, my dear son. Bop. I have very bad news for you today.
Oh dear.
I am afraid your brothers couldn't make it back from their journey to find the fortune. They got imprisoned by the king trying to rob the castle. The king promised them release if you find the stolen items of the king.
Okay.
Your brothers... Okay, so we've got a quest. We've got some sort of narrative setting.
Got a bit of motivation.
Your brothers told me they hid the items before they got imprisoned in the forest. You must go on a journey to find them and save your brothers. Okie dokie. It's quite a small village, it's only got one house in it.
Yeah. Thank you. That's nice. Bijou.
Alright.
The forest.
Yeah.
The forest of multicolored trees.
I have picked up
You
something.
found a slice of something?
Like a slice of peach or something?
Yeah. There's a little X in the corner. I don't know what that
I
does.
assume that
Just
drops
drop
it. Oh no, it doesn't even drop it, it just casts it into the void.
So you no longer have it at all.
Yep, we'll never find
I
out
wonder
what
if
that
it
was.
Hopefully it's not critical.
Like, was that a plot critical item? Have we just totally doomed ourselves? Oh, we got something else anyway.
Oh dear. Oh, invent. Oh, there we go. We found a thing. So I don't know what you do with them.
Land of the Ducks.
Land of Ducks. Fantastic.
Whoa,
All
bloody hell.
Oh my god.
That's a giant
That
duck.
is the duck
It's the
king.
king of the ducks, yeah.
It certainly is.
I need peaches to eat. That's a shame.
Oh. Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when a moment ago we were joking about that slice of peach being a plot critical item,
Yeah.
welp.
Any more slices of peach? Should we just go and kill the duck?
I don't know.
I mean, you know.
Can we kill the duck?
Well, you know. Say, sorry, we dropped your peach into the endless void.
Where are the peaches?
Yeah. Sorry about that. Go on. There we go.
Okay, we can just stab him.
There you go. Seems a bit mean, but you know, circumstances.
Yeah.
Okay, so into there.
I guess.
The beehive.
Hello.
Oh,
Queen bee.
I am the queen bee.
I want you to bring a flower. I mean,
we've
there's a
got
bunch
flower.
right there. But okay. Here is a flower.
Yeah. Okay, so okay.
There.
Oh! Don't attack! You attacked the bee.
I didn't mean to, and now it's following me.
Oh no! Is that because space is attack and space is
there we go.
continue conversation?
Thanks for your help. Please take this necklace.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh.
They are still following me.
Are they still attacking you?
I mean,
Can you kill the bee now?
I don't know. Probably. Oh, no.
That's interesting. Okay.
Alright, so we got a necklace, we've got a thing.
An angry
Oh,
bee.
the bee's following it. Oh, is the bee following us because we helped it?
Oh, maybe. Maybe it would have been nice to mention that, but you know that's
I'm
nice.
not sure that is the case.
Or is the bee following us because you stabbed it in the face?
I think so. I notice you have come for your brothers. They are imprisoned in my castle. If you have the items, I will let your brothers free. Do you have the ring and the necklace? I don't care. Goodbye.
Oh.
Oh, I can't go. There's a bee in the way.
Can you? I think.
Oh,
I think we
now
might
I have two
to-
necklaces
Oh, because you killed the bee.
because I killed the bee.
So the bee gave you a necklace, and then if you kill the bee, you get the same necklace again.
Yeah. So hey,
Might be-
free necklace.
Okay, I might count that as a minor bug. Yes, we've got a ring and a necklace, and we've got a necklace spare.
Let's see this thing here where it says, you know, either I've got them or I don't care. It's just, do you want to continue playing the game button? It's not like I can fight the king or anything like that.
Yeah. Okay, so are you slashing away at the king there?
I thought I'd give it a try.
You traitorous cur.
Viva la Republic.
Yes, we have the items.
Yes, we got the items.
Yes, continue. Right. King.
Okay.
None of your brothers executed by the king since you killed the animals.
Why?
Oh, you know, eye for an eye.
All right, let's try this again and pick some nice options this time. Hang on,
Okay,
yeah, because it teaches.
Yeah, I'm just looking. So looking at the structure, by the way. So it says you go into the forest and then you meet the queen bee or the king duck. You can either help the animal or kill the animals. I think if you kill both animals, then the animals become hostile.
What animals? There's only 2
I'm
animals.
not sure. Perhaps just the duck and but they're dead. I don't know. It just says animals become hostile.
There's only 2
and
animals.
Then you get to the point of giving the king the items. And if you help the animals, you save 2 brothers. And if you hurt the animals, you save 1 brother because he kills the other one for no reason.
Alright, should we start going through the mark scheme then?
I think we should. So, presentation. In terms of the graphics, I rather like the graphics actually. It's really nicely done. They've got nice, consistent graphics. Everything looks like it's in the right world. There's nothing that sort of looks peculiar. The font's good. The little inventory items look nice. Even like the little touches, like the intelligent scrolling and switching between levels or zones of levels, is good.
Yeah, the music's quite nice. It changes between areas. It'd maybe be nice if there was like a bit of, like, you know, an attack sound or a damage sound or something like that. And I think that's the thing. Like the graphics and music are really nice. It's a bit let down by the information design.
Let's talk about the information design. So, what would you be expecting to see?
So, for example, when you attack something, I mean, for a start, like, can they attack me back? Do I have health? Do I have a health bar?
Yeah.
Am I damaging them? How much health do they have? What happens when I throw, like, what happens when I press this button on my inventory and throw peach slices into the void?
So there's kind of there's independent bits of information, isn't there? There's have you actually struck them, or not? So has your damage landed? There's what is their current health, which the game may choose to hide from you, but it shouldn't really hide from you the fact that you're hitting them. Don't ever come back again. So there are some problems. The items thing down the bottom is kind of good in that it shows you what you have, but it is odd that you can drop them when there is no reason to drop them.
I've got 3 slots and there's only 2 items.
2 items. Yeah. And there's, as I said, there's never any reason to drop them. And also when you pick them up, it never actually. Actually, is there 3 items? Because there's the. What is it? There's the peach, the ring, and the necklace.
And the flowers. But the thing is, if you have the peach, then you swap it for the ring. And if you have the flowers, you swap it for the necklace.
You're right.
And the only time you can get 3 items is if you effectively bug it out and get the thing and then kill them.
Save it and then kill the animals. Yeah. So I think so there's definitely some information design. It's not a disaster or anything. It's just that there are some really useful bits of information missing. So let's have a look. So.
When it says the animals turn hostile, I think if you kill one of them, the other one turns hostile, which is why it was following me around. But there's absolutely no indication that that's the case. Like it's not making angry noises or anything. It's just following you around, and you can still complete the quest for it despite it being hostile.
Ah, I see. That's rather odd. Okay, so presentation. Graphics good would be graphics are consistent, appropriate use of audio. Excellent would be consistent and appealing graphics, good use of audio. I actually think the graphics and audio is probably up at the excellent.
I agree.
They don't have sound effects, but the music's changing, the graphics and the look is really nice. The information design though, so satisfactory would be key information is shown, and a pass would be some attempt at information design. And I kind of feel it's probably more like a pass.
I agree. Yeah.
I don't think some of the key information is there. So that's kind of odd. We got 2 up at the excellent and 1 at the pass. So probably overall it's a good for presentation, I would say.
Yeah.
Gameplay. Are there a set of complementary mechanics? Are the controls usable? And is there meaningful play?
So there are a set of there's a set of mechanics. You've got walking around, you've got attacking, you've got picking up items, you've got delivering those items. So there is definitely a set of mechanics. I mean, they work together as a set of mechanics, but I don't think they lead to necessarily meaningful play.
Yes. But what about the controls? I mean, let's talk about that.
Oh, the controls are fine. I can wander around.
So that's interesting here. Yeah, so I agree with you, and it's an interesting case, isn't it? Because you can control the character just fine. It has mechanics that you can do, but as you said, the meaningful play is quite lacking. So why do you think that is?
Because there's no real meaning behind what you're doing, I guess.
Yeah. Well, there's also no threat.
Yeah.
So
this duck is apparently about to attack me, but all it does is just follow me around.
If you stop, does it actually kill you eventually? Or are we just not seeing any health going down or something?
Don't know. I'll wait and see for a bit.
Yeah.
I suspect it might just be sort of like time constraints, and maybe they didn't have enough time to actually put that in. But
so I think there's no threat and there's no challenge. So because they've got and it is okay to have a simple, a small game. There's no problem with that. But you have to use it to demonstrate some actual game design. And the problem is you've just got these 4 areas, so you're not even exploring, right? There's not even an exploration element really. You've got these 4 very simple elements. There's no challenge in terms of fighting animals. There's no challenge in terms of fulfilling their quests because it's a very small area, so you can easily find the items. And that is why I think there's no meaningful play. Is that they've actually got the kind of the difficulty balance is out of whack. So that's interesting because I think we do have a set of complementary mechanics, and I think we do have smooth usable controls, right, which is at the good level. But I would say that there is, Paul would be very little meaningful play, pass would be limited meaningful play, and it feels kind of down at that level somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, you can interact with it, so maybe we should say that there's, it's not chaotic. So maybe we should say there's limited meaningful play, which is the pass.
Yeah.
So we've got one element, or 2 elements up at the good, 1 element down at the pass. So that probably puts it either at the sort of satisfactory kind of level, I would guess, for gameplay. I kind of feel that the meaningful play is almost more important than everything else.
Yeah, I was about to say I think maybe possibly a nudge below that, just because of.
To reflect the fact there's although those other bits are working, they're not working in the service of any actual play. Bugs. So we've definitely got a couple of minor bugs.
Yeah, quite a few. I mean,
yeah.
So we've already talked about sort of the lack of combat and threat being sort of part of a failure of the gameplay rather than necessarily a bug, I guess. So let's not double penalise them for that. But we also have like the sort of duplicating items, the fact that you can complete a quest when this thing is supposedly hostile.
Yep.
The fact that it just follows you around.
Yes. Okay.
I kind of like having this duck friend.
So satisfactory would be game is playable, it's reasonably complex, but there are frequent minor bugs.
So I think that's the other thing in that it's not really complex.
So pass would be game is playable but is either simple or there are frequent serious bugs. Yeah, I mean it's
possibly a bit between the two.
Yeah, it's sort of down there somewhere, isn't it? It's sort of or between those two. Maybe we put them down as between the two.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, story engine. So this is how the narrative impacts the game world and the game world impacts the narrative. So what they said, how does the narrative impact the game world? They said, the animals in the game give the player a mission to fetch an item and give them a reward which will be used by the main protagonist to save his brothers and complete their goal. The player can obtain these items another way by attacking animals and killing them. This is how the narrative affects the game world.
Is it?
Not really, no. I mean, it's sort of the narrative affecting the narrative, really.
Oh, so
I think killing the duck and getting the ring then affects the narrative. So that's kind of an example of the game world affecting the narrative.
But not really the other way around.
But I don't think the narrative changes the game world at all. All the differences are in the narrative space, aren't they?
Also, sorry, just to go back to bugs again, another bit of a serious bug. If you talk to the king and you say, "Here, I have the items," and then you, in fact, even at any point, if you drop either of the ring or the necklace, then you just can't complete the game.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I'm wondering whether they picked that inventory system up as an asset pack from somewhere and just didn't turn it off.
Possibly.
But, yeah. Okay. So, the story engine then. So, Satisfactory would be a simple story engine with limited integration with the game world. There are some examples when the story impacts the game world or is impacted by the game, by the other way around. And Pass is the same, but there are few examples. It probably feels like a pass. There are a few examples where the game world impacts the narrative.
I mean, kind of. Like, there's one, and it's did you kill an animal or not?
Well, it's the two. It's two, isn't it? There's the duck and the bee.
But it only has one impact on the narrative. If you kill either of them.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, and it's the same mechanism. Well, I mean, if you look at Poor is some support for story elements of the game, but no real story engine. The story has no real impact on the game world and is not really impacted by events there.
Yeah, so it is definitely above that.
But you're thinking it might be between the two.
Possibly, I don't know. What do you think?
Well, passes. There are very few examples. I mean, here we have one, and pass says examples, so maybe we should put it between the two.
Yeah.
Agency. So this is it an interactive story? Does it have several branches? Is there an attempt to control player agency? And are there interesting choices? So if we look at the actual story itself, we do have a sort of branching story. It's done geographically. You've got these two different areas, and essentially you can choose to do them in any order before you progress to the next bit. So there is kind of like and there are a couple of choices. I wouldn't say that there are several. I mean, there's two. So, Poor is an interactive story with few branching points. Pass is an interactive story with some branching points, and it's probably down at that level somewhere in terms of the complexity of the structure.
But again, there's really only sort of like, yes, there are sort of multiple branches, I guess, within it, but there's really only one narrative branch, which is did you kill the animals or not, or did you kill at least one of the animals?
There's one significant choice, but there's two. You do the other two bits in the order. It's a very simple structure. What do you think about the choices? Do you think they're interesting choices, meaningful choices?
No, so for example, here it says one of your brothers was executed by the king since you killed the animals, but I only killed one of them this time.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, the thing is, there's no, there's very limited choice. Like the duck asks you to help it, or you can kill it. But because sort of going back into the gameplay thing, because it's so trivial to help it, it's just a case of, oh well, I've picked up this.
Yeah.
Like why would you not?
Yeah.
There's no reason given for why you should.
Right.
I kind of like that they don't sort of say, yes, help the duck, or no, kill the duck. They let you make that choice sort of in the game world, whether you can just sort of. The fact that it sort of happens accidentally if you're pressing space to skip through the conversations is a bit annoying. But the problem is it's not an interesting choice to make.
So not only is it not an interesting choice because it's so trivial to not to go and help them, but also the consequences of that choice, not only are they not clear,
they're sort of illogical.
They're not even clear once they've happened. It's like, well, why have you killed one of my brothers? Because I killed a duck, right? So if there was a sign that you encountered that said the king's land, a bit like the Queen and the Swans, right? It's a crime to kill a swan. It's the same thing. The king's land, hunting of animals is prohibited or something.
Yeah, or just like a little bit of dialogue from our father, say, the king is a defender of all life, or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah. So there's nothing to set it up. The choices aren't that interesting, and the consequences feel a bit random, right? And that's really problematic for agency. There is some attempt to control agency using the sort of the topology of the level. So you've got the kind of the two areas, but it's very, very simple. So I think what we have here is probably around the sort of poor or pass mark, an interactive story with few branching points or some branching points. So poor is an interactive story with few branching points, few interesting choices, and player agency is problematic. And I kind of think that's where we are.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
Poetics. So this is whether the narrative and the gameplay complement one another. Are the mechanics in keeping with the themes of the story? So,
I mean,
they've attempted to do that, haven't they? They've kind of got that idea of you help the animals, you. But again, they've missed out on the whole point of it's not that you get a reward, it's that you don't get a reward, and then later on you unexpectedly get help.
Yeah.
Right. So the things that you do that are good come back and help you later on, right? Even if they don't seem to at the time. That's kind of the point, right? And again, they've kind of missed that completely.
Yeah, it's sort of about doing a good thing for its own sake, and then sort of like karma coming back to sort of help you in the end.
Yes.
Whereas this it's sort of the reverse. Like if you do a bad thing, karma comes back at you in the end.
Mm. Yeah.
But the link between them isn't really explained.
So so pass would be narrative and gameplay have some conflicts, and satisfactory would be narrative and gameplay do not interfere with one another. But the key mechanics have little to do with the themes of the story. It feels something like a satisfactory to me.
Like for example, I kind of like the switch. So rather than it being, good deeds are rewarded eventually, bad deeds are punished eventually. So hypothetically, if they had a thing where, you go and meet the king, you get both of your brothers back, and then you come back and you find, oh no, I don't know, the forest is flooded. And if you've killed the duck, you have to swim across, one of your brothers drowns. If you saved the duck, then he helped you across, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That kind of sort of... that's the sort of, karmic consequence, if you like, rather than just oh, you did my quest, here's a ring.
Yeah, I mean, the way this is set up, though, we kind of... Because obviously you can set this up so they're in conflict. So here, they're kind of... I would say that they're kind of in the middle. The problem is that there's not an awful lot of theme going on, really.
But there's also not a lot of mechanic going on, either.
No.
So there's this... Yeah, again, they're not directly undermining one another, but there's kind of a lack of each.
Yeah. So I suppose the question is the lack of mechanics, does that go against the themes of the story? You kind of... it kind of does. You feel kind of a little bit powerless. So I don't think it's a disaster, but I think it's probably... It might be a pass, I think, for the Poetics, which is narrative and gameplay of some conflicts. Some of the mechanics go against the themes of the story. And although here I think that actually it's probably more true that they just don't really have much to do with one another. There's so little mechanics and there's so little themes in the story that it feels like there's as a result, there's not enough mechanics to help. Therefore, that it kind of goes against the themes of the story, if you see what I mean. So it feels like it's more like a pass.
Yeah, I think you're right. And that brings us to feedback.
Not quite. We got techniques.
Oh no, techniques and pacing, of course. How could I forget?
Yeah. So game writing techniques. So in this case, we've got the dialogue. When we get to feedback in a minute, they do claim they're doing some environmental storytelling. So using things like placing colourful trees to indicate that there's a mystical forest.
I
can sort of see what they're trying to do. I didn't get that.
That feels very... I mean, firstly, so what? What impact does that mystical forest have on the story? To me, that just sounds like the only tree assets we could find that match this pack were multicoloured, so we need to justify it somehow.
I mean, the environmental storytelling that I think would have worked really well, we've already talked about, would be a sign saying, the king's land, no hunting, right? Something like that, right? That would be a bit of environmental storytelling.
Yeah, I mean, is kind of like...
Or if you came across a gallows and somebody said to you, oh yeah, these people they were killing the king's fowl.
Yeah.
Right? Just something like that, that kind of that gives you some context for the and hints at the consequences of your actions. I think would help.
Yeah. So there's So sort of in terms of environmental storytelling, you do have this sort of like transition that tells you the name of each area, which is kind of interesting.
That's true, actually. Yeah, that's true. So and we did like that as a.
But it does have it has such little impact on the narrative. It doesn't matter that this is where the duck is, other than that's where you do the duck quest. And similarly, like the forest or the magical forest, it doesn't matter.
So I would say that there's.
But it is a nice touch.
So, pass would be partially successful attempt to use at least one game writing technique.
So they do have the one. They've got the dialogues.
They've got the one, and the reason I think it's partially successful is that they just don't use it enough. There's not enough. I mean, the premise set up there works quite nicely.
Like this is
But the actual interactions with the animals is not great, really, is it? They're quite functional.
It's very much just a fetch me this item.
Yeah. So I think it's probably a pass for the techniques. What about the pacing? You've got these two kind of little bumps as you encounter the animals, but they're pretty small bumps because there's not an awful lot of drama in what you're doing.
Yeah, and similarly,
but at the end, there's no climax. It just falls kind of completely flat, doesn't it?
It's just like you either got the items, or you got the items and killed a thing, and then end. There's no. Yeah.
So I think that is also a pass. Pacing is unclear or flat. I think it's better than poor, which is no serious attempt to control pacing, because you start off in your village and you have the encounter with your father, and so clearly there's clearly that idea of progressing into the world. So I think for me it's probably a pass for techniques.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe just a smidge above it, because they do have sort of like the tutorial area at the start. Like there is some indication of ascendant pacing.
Because of those areas, you think they deserve a.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, I could. You're right. I forgot about that when you mentioned it the first time, and I think you're right. It is nice that they have those areas. They introduce them, and you've got that quiet space at the beginning to learn the controls and everything. Yeah, okay. So we'll put it between a pass and a satisfactory. Feedback. So they said we received on Teams feedback that the scope should be kept down to make it manageable. We did that by reducing the number of animals from 3 to 2 to remove extra work. So that actually I think is okay. I don't think that's the problem. They've only got 2 animals, not 3.
I think, but the problem is they've not used that extra time of, instead of creating an entire new animal and an entire new area, of expanding on the ones they've got.
Yes. Implementing a dialogue system or cutscenes to progress the narrative was another feedback. We chose to implement a dialogue system to do this. Well, if they hadn't have done that, they'd have had almost no narrative here, so I'm glad they did that. Environmental storytelling was another feedback, and we used visual cues, such as placing colourful trees. So I think the environmental storytelling was a useful thing to be told, but I don't think they've done it. I think they've kind of they've not used it to actually convey narrative information.
I would still argue that they haven't used it. Like the fact that the trees are colourful seems a really weird argument for
that's what I'm saying. I don't think they've used it to convey narrative information. I think they've used it aesthetically and to delineate different areas.
Yeah.
But it doesn't tell you anything that's useful.
Actually, that's the point of it.
Right? It doesn't change your understanding of the narrative or affect your choices in any way. Right?
Yeah, sorry, I was just hunting for other coloured trees to see.
There? That's a kind of odd thing to have. Is there anything on that tombstone?
No, it's just the tutorial that says press to attack, and there's this like weird harmless log creature.
So again, if the tombstone said, "Tombstone, here lies
a poacher,
Poacher Roberts, right, executed by King so and so," right? Just something that kind of tells you a little bit. Anyway, okay. So I think in terms of feedback, feedback has been articulated, but I'm not convinced the changes have been made with enormous amount of success. I would say they've obviously, you know, if they weren't going to put a dialogue system in, then thank goodness they did. But in terms of doing things like the environmental storytelling or cutting down the scope, I mean, arguably the scope thing is a, you know, is a sensible thing. But as you said, they've not done anything with that extra space.
Like, the reason you keep the scope small is so that you can focus on and polish the elements of your game that you've got.
Yeah.
But
and in fairness, I mean, the presentation elements are really nice. I mean, it looks lovely.
I mean, it's true. Like, we don't know what would have happened if they had sort of stretched to add an extra
Yeah.
item and area. Maybe this is after like some of the polish, but it's a bit difficult to say.
So it's just that it's not polishing the story part; it's polishing the presentation elements, which we've already said are really nice. So for me, I think the feedback is probably somewhere between pass and satisfactory. It's probably a pass.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So I mean, maybe they ran out of time. It is a very short amount of time they have to do this. It looks to me that they've got the engine here is the basis for writing a really nice little narrative game, actually. But unfortunately, they either run out of time or they haven't understood to make those interactions a bit more complex and to try and contextualize those choices. So a really nice little environment, beautiful looking game.
Yeah, it's something that we often say with these sort of like it's a really solid foundation, and if they were to carry this on and sort of expand on it just a little bit more, it'd be like a really nice nice thing.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's our last game for this video.
Our last game for this video, and our last video for this coursework.
Absolutely. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and we'll be back again in the future with more videos from the course. Yeah, see you soon.
Bye bye.